Hey, what is up people? This is Sarang, and in this video we are going to discuss about low carbohydrate diet. Who are the people for whom practically it is ideal and easier to go on a low carbohydrate diet? What are the benefits? Who are the people who shouldn't go on a low carbohydrate diet or it won't be efficient? And what are the side effects of low carbohydrate diet if there are any? So starting out with the first one, who are the people who should go on a low carbohydrate diet? People who are overweight and obese from a long time definitely should try a low carbohydrate diet, because those people generally have basically a messed up circuitry. There are many factors for this. It might be genetic, or it might be that you overconsumed hyper-palatable processed foods. Hyper-palatable foods are the foods that taste like real damn tasty. So like pizza or ice cream or chocolate brownie and things like that. When you eat foods, when you eat too much of those foods, the whole reward circuitry basically messes up the mechanism in your body which stops you from overeating. Thus, because of which every time you eat, you overeat on food, and over time you get fat. And over time, it just feeds the downward spiral every time you eat any hyper palatable or processed foods, and it just completely messes up your circuitry over the time, and because of which it becomes very hard for you to lose weight. Now, what happens when you go on a low carbohydrate diet is you eliminate an entire macronutrient. So not eliminate, but limit it. So when you limit an entire macronutrient, be it fat or carbohydrate, in my opinion, carbohydrate works way better than eliminating fat. When you eliminate carbohydrate, you are basically eliminating all the processed food. So you are eliminating pizza, brownies. Basically, you get the idea. It is very, very hard to make a food tasty without adding too many processed carbohydrates or too much sugar. So more like 99% of the processed and junk food, hyper-palatable food out there has carbohydrates, and if you eliminate carbohydrates and go on a low carb diet, in on itself you are cutting off all the hyper-palatable processed foods, which is going to have awesome benefits and effects on your health. Plus it is going to also reset your whole circuitry, that will prevent you from overeating and thus getting fat. The second point is your gut health. Now, we use a lot of antibiotics. We eat a lot of processed foods. We are pretty much sitting all day, every day, all our lives. We are not moving enough. We are not active enough. We have a lot of stress in modern environment, and because of all these factors, our gut health is completely messed up. And gut health is one of those, like, it is the main foundation and pillar of good health. If your gut is not right, if your gut health is not right, you are not going to be healthy. And there are many studies that show that if you have a leaky gut and a bad gut health in general, then it's going to make you overeat, and it is very likely that it is going to mess up your whole neurohormonal balance, because of which you're going to overeat and get overweight over the time. So gut health is very important, and if you eliminate processed foods, that is carbohydrates, mostly it is carbohydrates, and you basically limit your carbohydrates, and whatever carbohydrates you're eating are mostly made up of green leafy vegetables or really non-starchy vegetables, and the other part of your food is mostly protein and fat, then it is going to hugely improve your gut health, and thus it's going to not only it's going to help you tremendously in losing weight, it's also going to vastly going to improve your health. The third point is insulin resistance. Now, if you are too much insulin resistant, that means you're diabetic and you're not going on a low carbohydrate diet, then you're really doing a big mistake. Now, technically, you can reverse your diabetes on a high carb, low fat diet too, if you account for calories, because calories is the main driver of diabetes and all these things. So if you reduce your calories and you go on a high carb, low fat, moderate protein diet, you can reverse diabetes. But if you go on a low carb diet, it is very easy for your body to reverse diabetes. And even if you're not diabetic, insulin resistance just does not mean diabetic. If you have belly fat, if you have protruding belly, then you're insulin resistant. And a low carbohydrate diet has shown to help a lot with people who are insulin resistant and who basically have a belly fat, a protruding belly. So if you're insulin resistant, definitely go on a low carbohydrate diet. Aside from all of these factors, there is one major factor that like trumps everything. I didn't write it here. It trumps everything and makes low carbohydrate diet a better option for losing weight, and that is appetite control. When you go on a properly formulated low carbohydrate diet, your appetite just sinks, man. I mean, you just it is very hard to overeat on those foods that you're eating on a low carbohydrate diet. Generally speaking, some people manage to do it, but generally speaking, it is very hard to overeat on those foods. Your cravings go away, your hunger goes away, and because of those foods, it is because of those factors and those things, those benefits, basically very reduced appetite and hunger, it is very easy for you to drop weight. And if you have been overweight and obese for a long time, you know that food has a good I mean, it has a huge power over you. When you see a pizza or ice cream, you are very, if you're obese or overweight person, you are very much tempted to go and eat it. When you go on a low carbohydrate diet, and if you manage to if you manage to just crack through the first 3 or 4 weeks, your appetite is going to be completely gone, your hunger would be completely gone on a properly formulated low carbohydrate diet, and just everything is upside from there. Not everything, but most of the things are upside from there. So that is a big benefit of following a low carbohydrate diet. It naturally makes you eat in a calorie deficit. You can still keep a check on calories and count calories and things like that and your macros, but your body just does that in on itself when you're following a low carbohydrate diet. Who are the people that shouldn't go on a low carbohydrate diet? Now, honestly speaking, when I'm making a YouTube video, I need to be like, I need to be unbiased. But honestly speaking, I just cannot think of any reason for anyone to not go on a low carbohydrate diet. Now, whilst having said that, I'm not saying that low fat or high carb is bad or inferior in any sense. You can definitely thrive on that too. But for most people, I have seen this one happening. There are mainly two reasons, two kinds of people who shouldn't go on a low carbohydrate diet. The number one is if you just cannot do a low carbohydrate diet. That means if you are a pure vegan, like you don't eat dairy, you don't eat meat, and you live in a country like India where we don't really have many options for vegan high fat foods. So if you're someone that just cannot do it, you just cannot do a low carbohydrate diet, then you can definitely go on a calorie equated moderate protein high carb diet. Definitely do that, and it will work just as awesome if you know how to do it right. The second kind of people who shouldn't go on a low carbohydrate diet are the people who want to build muscle. Now, this doesn't really come under weight loss. Mostly what we are talking here are in context of weight loss. If you want to bulk up, if you don't want to lose weight, if you want to gain weight, then I would not recommend a low carbohydrate diet. If you want to do it, you can do it, but if you're just limiting a macronutrient, the exact opposite thing will happen. You want to gain weight, but you wouldn't able to gain weight. So you see, if you want to lose weight, then low carbohydrate, how low carbohydrate is best, because it is very hard to gain weight on a low carbohydrate diet. If there is a diet on which it is very hard to gain weight, then it is obvious that at least for maintenance, it is very awesome than other kinds of diet. What are the side effects of low carbohydrate diet? There are almost none. I mean, there are literally no side effects to low carbohydrate diet. If you are suffering from thyroid issues, or you have too much stress in you, or if you perform very high volume, high intensity workouts like anaerobic workouts, what we call glycolytic workouts, you need to burn sugar, not fat or ketones in that, then in that case, you can still go on a low carbohydrate diet. You just shouldn't go very low carbohydrate diet, that is ketogenic diet, like carbohydrates under 50 grams. If you suffer from thyroid or too much cortisol, stress, anaerobic workouts, then you can still go low carbohydrate, but you need to go to the upper end of low carbohydrate, that is 80, 90 or 100 grams of carbohydrates. On that, you can definitely those are the only things that if you have any of those problems and you're going very low, like 10 grams of carbohydrates a day, then you are obviously going to have side effects. Side effects will include, like, you're just basically cortisol is going to shoot through the roof, your thyroid will go down, and it's going to mess up your hormones if you go on a very low carbohydrate diet and you already are suffering from any problem, and you are engaging in very high intensity, very high volume workouts. for normal people who want to lose weight, you are not going to suffer from any of these problems. So these are the 3 things that I wanted to tell you about low carbohydrate diets. Who are the people who should do it? If you're overweight, obese from a long time, food has a lot of power over you. You are sort of addicted to food, or you cannot really do like everything in moderation kind of thing. Then low carbohydrate is very awesome option for you. Again, gut health, insulin resistance, appetite control. There are many other reasons for which that might benefit you, but I will really strongly recommend every one of you out there watching this, if you're overweight or obese, at least give low carbohydrate diets a try for 2 to 3 months. If it doesn't work for you, perfectly fine. There is no reason for you to follow it then. But just give it an honest try and evaluate how you do on it. For most people, it works very awesome. Now, some people say that low carbohydrate diet are not sustainable, especially in India, where our staples are filled with carbohydrate. Now, it is kind of true. It is not sustainable very long term, but once you like get to a under your BMI and you are a lean individual, then you can definitely adjust some carbohydrates into your diet and make it a moderate carbohydrate along with exercise and a whole food based diet that is not hyper palatable. Even if you cannot maintain the low carbohydrate thing, you should definitely use it to lose weight and then sort of switch to moderate carbohydrate diet. So that is it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions at all, then make sure that you ask me in the comment section. I'll try to answer it in the comment section, or I'll make a whole another video for it. Yeah, that is it. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because I have really low subscribers. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video.